Welcome. The Pueblo Star Journal presents Soul Fresh, Soul Clean podcast. Soul Fresh, Soul Clean is a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast. This episode, titled Bringing It Home, Retreats, Bike the Bessemer and Jocelyn in the Wild, was produced and narrated by Jocelyn Martinez and Gregory Howell.
Welcome to another edition of Soul Fresh, Soul Clean. My name is Gregory Howell. I'm with the Pueblo Star Journal, Voices of Pueblo podcast, and I'm here with Jocelyn Martinez. And boy, since our last podcast, you have been on the road, haven't you, Jocelyn?
I have, yes. Yeah, no, it's been busy. There's a lot of stuff going on, but geez, I can't even believe that it's been that long ago.
I know, it seems like we just recorded the last one, and I remember you said you were going to hit the road. And so how was Florida? How was that? Because I know you were with one of your colleagues. You have someone that you travel with, and you guys were doing all kinds of interesting stuff. How was that?
Yes, so we are retreat chefs. So we traveled to Florida, and I think we had kind of hit on it, but just about how I shop local and do a bunch of things like that. And the coach that I work for, that we travel with, that I'm her chef, we're actually getting ready to do a really big travel for her upcoming retreat, but we do 2 retreats with her a year. I like what she does. They're called Freedom and Adventure retreats. And so they're for business owners, entrepreneurs who just women and men who just really want to step into their power, but also realize that they still have to have freedom and adventure and be pampered. So
how many people are in those on average? How many people attend these retreats?
It ranges from 6 to 15.
Oh, fantastic. So it's an intimate setting. That's fantastic.
And they do different excursions, and then they do coaching, and then we do all of the food is what we do. So
it's nice when you have that kind of arrangement, because I've been in those situations where you end up doing all of it, but boy, the food component is a beast in itself. It's kind of nice to have all the coaches doing everything related to coaching and all of that business development, and then you get the food experts to come in and run the food show.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We do everything from coffee in the morning to cleaning everything, procuring all of the items and stuff like that. And so there's a lot that goes into them, but they're also just really awesome. They're always in great spaces. This particular coach, next year she's actually doing one-off, and she's doing it in Italy, which I'm so excited. Wow,
and do you get to go?
I'm not going to that one.
Oh, you're not going to that one?
No, because those chateaux
it'd be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, those chateaux come with their own chefs.
But can you be one of the guests, though?
I could be, yes.
Okay.
That is an opportunity.
Well, that would be fun.
Yeah. But then she also does one that's at a lake house. So it's lake and forest in the end of summers, and then at the beginning of spring she always does a beach. And so they're always different, somewhere different in the United States, and then that gives all of her clients just that freedom and adventure to learn and do different things, which is really cool.
And it helps you too, because you always shop local.
I do.
So you actually get to go. You're probably in advance, and you're hitting all the local markets and trying to procure everything locally just for these summits. These
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite things to do, actually. And that's the part that makes us unique, but also a lot of work goes into it, because I look at the season, I look at where we're at, I have to do research on farms and what's available and things like that. And so I've been really blessed that a lot of places that we go, it's usually during the peak farm season, especially September, October.
Right.
Our next one is going to be in Montana. So around Kalispell, Ashley Lake, Montana. So it'll be in Glacier National Park.
Oh my gosh. It's such a beautiful place, especially this time of year.
Yeah. I've never been.
You're going to have to tell us stories.
Excited.
Yes.
So I know huckleberries are a big thing there.
Yes.
So that's really big in our menu, or huckleberries. And then
it's not just in cartoons.
No, it's not. And it isn't Huckleberry Finn. It's actually a thing, kind of looks like a blueberry.
Right.
But what I did notice is that's also the number one thing that bears their main source of food.
Right.
And so you can pick up to I think it was 10 ounces or something off of the side of the roads, or 1 quart.
Right.
And I'm well, do I really want to fight with a bear for some huckleberries? So I may just hit one of the roadside farms. But then again, you never know. I might be on the side of the road picking huckleberries.
Yeah, we'll wait. Lately, I've seen on social media a lot of these people who've been running into bears unexpectedly.
Like in Aberdeen?
Yeah, even here locally, but I'm talking about like viral social media. There have been some, well, sadly, we're dealing with climate change, we're dealing with droughts, and of course, just like any other human creature, when you can't get food, you're going to descend into other areas that perhaps aren't your natural habitat because you're hungry.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. It's a really sad thing.
Yeah.
But in some cases, man and animal can cohabitate. In other circumstances, it gets really tricky.
Yeah, I
really,
don't think
really
fighting
tricky.
over the same huckleberry
No,
bush, I
know.
don't think I would fare very well.
I think we have more choices, and let's take the one that's easier. But it sounds like, so you were in Florida since the last trip. Now you're going to be hitting multiple states. So you're going to be in like 4 states between now and the next time we record?
Yes. So I'm excited about this one. We are actually road tripping. So I should moonlight as like a travel planner because I really love to do that. And so I've already got my atlas and my maps, but I've already hit some places that we want to see on the way. Like we want to go to Salt Lake City and I heard they have like a really big gastropub kind of
they do.
scene right now. But then we're going to drive up, and then I've already have like meat from a meat market up in Kalispell. I already have our meat on order. So I'll pick that up, and I've already looked up a bunch of farms on the way. And so we're excited. And then at the end, it's one thing that I always do with retreats is like one to say, like, here's like something for all your hard work because I have my assistant who comes with me, but also just say like, we made it, like we worked really hard. Like, let's also have our own freedom and adventures. So we're going to go to Yellowstone for 2 days as well and just like rest and relax.
That's
and go
amazing.
See some stuff. Yeah.
So you've got Utah, you've got Wyoming,
Idaho,
and you got Idaho. And
Montana. So we're actually going to be
wow.
going Colorado, Utah,
right,
Idaho, and then Montana. And then we'll be up in Montana for a week, and then we'll pop back down to Idaho.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. And I know, it sounds so glamorous, for us and for your listeners, the services that you provide for these retreats. But SoulSmile Retreat Services, I mean, you actually bring a little bit of Pueblo to any event that you do. And it's not exclusively just for these special retreats. You actually make this available here in Pueblo.
I do.
And I remember last year when I did Bike the Bessemer, which is coming up again.
Yes, it is.
And God, what a treat. I mean, you go 14 miles, on your bike. And, it's not a long distance, but, there's winds. It can be hot. You're running around. You're stopping. You're getting on and off. And then you finally get back. We were at St. Joseph's last year, and that whole hall was just filled
with people.
Oh my God, filled with people, there was draft beer. There was all these great serving stations with all of this incredible food. So tell us a little bit about just the retreat services, because that's something that you make available to anyone that asks.
Yeah. So we're traveling retreats. I got into that space, and it was a dream of mine to be able to do that. As a coach myself and just working with people. And I really, when I stepped into like the food side of things, I was like, wait, this is what I want to do, is I want to be able to bring like just nutritious, delicious food to people while also allowing them to feel pampered. And that's what the retreat space we do. We make sure that no one ever has to worry about anything. Mm-hmm. We show up with the food. We cook the food. We pivot when we have to. There's numerous times I've been in the middle of retreat and the host has been like, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday. Right. And I've whipped up a birthday cake and did different things like that. But it's just really about like going above and beyond. And that's why people choose to work with me, is because I listen and I take everyone into consideration. But I also take the atmosphere, the event, the food, everything into account and try to just make it special for everyone. And so with retreats, like if anyone is looking for a retreat chef, we travel. We can work within any budget, within any theme, and we just really want to enhance that event for their guests. And what ends up happening is people are like, oh, like we go for the coaching, but we stay for the food. And so people will keep signing up because they know, like, we take care of them. We're not pretentious. We're real. We're healthy coaches, but we also give you comfort and love and nurturing. We're kind of like the mom in the kitchen, and that's what we like.
And
to
everyone
bring.
wants to be. I mean, I remember, I think it was Josh Cooley, who writes our Ask Josh column. He had posted some photographs of a huge spread that you did.
Oh, yes, I did that.
Oh, my gosh. And that was before I had even, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And, if you're thinking about a caterer, if you're thinking about retreat services, all these things kind of overlap in a sense or two. But I remember seeing the pictures, and the pictures are just like, no way, you can't eat that. But it was like everything on that spread was edible. Everything. And then you saw the comments. And so since then, of course, I've enjoyed your food. But Bike the Bessemer is coming up again. And so I know we're a sponsor. We're a partner with the Palmer Conservancy. So that's a big deal. I'll be riding again. Nice. So are you going to be doing the same thing?
We will. We there's a couple businesses that we work with and summits and things that we have been able to do multiple years. Like this is the third year we've done the Commissioner's Graze at the State Fair. We love working with them. And then this will be our second year doing Palmer. Right. And of course, Sun, Water, Soil. This will be our fourth or fifth year doing that. Right. But the reason why people work with us is because we are unique. Yeah. We procure as much as we can, like from local, and that's very important to us, but also just bringing those flavors. And we also make it really easy for people to work with us. And that's like the other thing. Like once it's settled, we show up, we do our thing, we clean up, we have conversations. But I'm excited to do Bike to Bessemer. We're kind of doing similar, it's farm to table. So it's like what's available. And a couple weeks ago, I went and talked to Rocky Musso and was like, hey, what does it look like this year? Right.
Yeah, and this year's interesting because of the drought. Yeah. I mean, are you noticing things that are either available or not available, or what are you seeing?
So the thing is with the farms is like 1 week you can go and think they're not going to have something, and then the next week it's a plethora of it.
Well, yeah, because they have to pick it.
It's like boom.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And so I was a little concerned about squash. But then I went like a week ago and there was tons of squash already being shown up. So I already had that conversation of like, what's going to be available? What are we looking at? And so, I kind of built the menu around what I knew we were going to have. So there's a couple things that are different, but that's like the beauty of farm to table, right?
It is. And it also just reminds us that, up until refrigeration, up until we bought for a week or a month, that people would go daily or they would go to the markets, and it was whatever you could find is what you would get. So the weather plays a huge part in all of this.
It really does.
And we've had just kind of a crazy year. And now, like with yesterday, it was like hurricane, whatever you want to call it, came in with hail and everything.
It's like every day, though, we're getting rain. And so, that's good. But then you have flooding, and so like we could complain and we can be happy about it all at the same time. But what I'm seeing is maybe, and I think we kind of already knew this going into this farm season, was going to be maybe less varietals, but still like a really good plethora of things. I'm not seeing too many crazy things out there, but again, if you like, I just seen another reel and another video about Marisol, the movie, the documentary.
And now you can watch it anytime you want to. It's available on their website. Yes.
Yeah. So please, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's called Marisol. It's about our agriculture systems in Pueblo, and it's really important. Yes. But one thing that really touched me was, Rocky, how he was like, the biggest thing we fear is like our water situation. And the fact is like, he said, quote unquote, I couldn't imagine not being able to do this. Right.
Exactly.
And so those are like the reals of things. Is like, there are environmental issues that are affecting our agriculture. And, I'll be interested this year with our chilies and stuff. It was really hot, so they're probably going to be really hot.
They're going to be really hot,
which is good, but
and these are multi-generational farms, so
yes.
It's not like this is their first season at the rodeo.
No.
They do this generation after generation after generation, and it's tough each and every year. Ag has always been hard work.
It is one of the hardest things, and I think everyone just really takes it for granted.
Right.
Like they just think like, oh, I'm at the grocery store. Like, what do you mean you're out of this? And it's like, well, I mean, have you looked at what's going on in the world right now? And so it's important for all of us to just understand, like, if we don't change and we don't take care of the resources that we have, we're not going to have them. And that's like the reality, right? People think we're going to just have this stuff forever.
Right.
And it's like, well, did you know that there were 18 different types of apples? Like some of those are extinct. Why? Because of this system,
Sure.
And like the bigger thing too is just the other day, it's like, so there's no seeds in any of our vegetables and our fruits anymore that you buy from the stores. Everything's seedless, right?
Right.
I remember in the 80s when I was eating a grape, you had to like spit out all these seeds. That's not a thing anymore.
Right,
so like seed gathering is going away, and these are things that are important, and they weren't even important to me up until 10 years ago.
Right.
And that makes me already behind.
No, exactly. Exactly.
And so now it's like, oh, wait, like I understand this more, but it was about getting that knowledge and going out and speaking to these farmers and like building that relationship and realizing that we only get one earth and we have to take care of it. But that also is shopping locally. That's going out to your farmers. That's doing that stuff because that's building the sustainability aspect of how we nourish ourselves as humans.
No, that's right. And before I forget, I did have one note, which we haven't talked about yet, but we did on our last podcast. You remember, we were right. It was the Aspen Acres fire.
Yes.
And you were part of, the World
Central
Kitchen. I can never remember because it's WCK, World Central Kitchen. And of course, since then, the fire went on. And then, of course, now we're having terrible flooding.
I know.
Is there any update or any news that you can share since that experience? Because you were front and center with Beulah with the fire department there.
Yeah, we were one of many that were doing a lot of the food and stuff for the firefighters. From what I gather right now, the biggest issue is like food.
Yeah.
So I know the school just opened.
Okay.
And they lost all their food in their freezers and things like that.
Oh my gosh, I never even thought of it.
And so they're looking for ways to kind of build that back up.
Okay.
And I have some resources. I let them know that if it comes through, I'm going to be giving them some free vegetables and stuff like that. And what's really great is what I heard, and I just love this, is that the woman who does the food for the school, if they get abundance of things, she has the kids chop them up and then they freeze them.
Oh my gosh, so they can actually be really smart about it.
So then like the kids, like if you have an abundance of squash or like eggplant or different things, the greatest thing is they'll take them, but then also they get the kids like hands-on in it. And I think that's really cool. But I do know there's also like elderly that lost a lot of their food and like things like that. So I think that's what we're running into now. And then the fact that they just cannot get a break from these rain.
Well, that's the thing too. And I know at the Pueblo Star Journal, we have been consistently, there are a few places where you can go. I know the United Way probably has the greatest number of resources all listed. We actually have a special dedicated page, both in our print and digital editions, which allows people to go and look for the latest information in regards to resources. And there's a QR code. We always recommend that everyone go there first because things change so quickly. And sometimes, like for example, when there's a need, all of a sudden that need is filled and things shift to another thing. In regards to the school, because I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that are going to want to know, is there a place that they should go before people want to rush to give?
Right.
You have to be really careful because
I think one of the biggest things is like we want to give, but there's also regulations.
That's
so
right.
I think one of the biggest things is like the food's coming from a safe source.
Good.
And I'm not saying that like your home isn't safe or things like that. But there's so many regulations. And so as a school, I do believe they have to like adhere to that. So my biggest thing is if there are people at the farmer's market who are selling produce and it ends up going to waste, you know, and they usually give to the homeless shelter or something, maybe think about maybe cutting it in half and doing half for the school or half for them.
Okay, that's a good idea.
And then half for, you know, the homeless shelter, if that's what you do. If you have extra, I think the farms, if they have extra, I think that's a good resource. But besides that, what I've really seen is, and this is just coming from me and from what I've heard from others, is the lack of support and resources from our state government. I think if you're wanting to see like something different and like a little more support for this community, especially that's kind of getting lost, I think people should start calling like
their local representative,
giving some people some phone calls.
No,
and
exactly.
saying, hey, like, why are we not doing this? Why was an 84-year-old man sandbagging his own, you know, home to not get flooded, and then he lost his life? Like, why are, like, that's great that like FEMA's there and this stuff, but what capacity are they doing to actually help with the cleanup, help where it's needed? Like, yes, making sure traffic, that's one thing that's fine, but like when are we going to get like the people that are actually going to help this community?
And I think that's always, I mean, sadly, oftentimes those calls come after the fact, you know, when there's already an incident or something has gone wrong, that all of a sudden people, so if we can be a little bit more proactive, and if there is any way that you can talk to your local representatives, whether you're talking about city council, whether you're talking about county commissioners, whether you're talking about state legislators, even all the way up to the governor's office, they're there. I mean, they will respond. The other thing too is, in some cases, if you have financial resources, you know, if you want to donate, there are really great people. I know at the United Way, they have been able to direct people. Sometimes a donation to the United Way can be dedicated to certain types of relief efforts. So I always encourage people, it's a very fluid situation, but if you have hard dollars, or if you want to donate, write a check or something like that, call the powers that be, you know, and that, again, if you just go to the United Way, if you go to the Pueblo Star Journal, any of our stories where we have the resources, there's a QR code that will take you directly to the United Way, and it actually will give you the very latest updated information, because it's updated almost daily.
Yeah, that's
route. Always a good way. Yeah. Because sometimes money can really be, you know, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It could be $5, $10. All of that goes into, in many cases, a general fund. But if you really want to make a difference and you have the resources, you know, there are ways that you can make a big difference.
Well, and there's also a lot of stuff going on this month as well that you can go to. I know, what is it? Martini Shot is going to be doing a concert that like all the proceeds go to the Aspen Ridge Fire. Family Worship Center is having a concert and all the funds go there. There's also another one that the Nature and Wildlife Center is going to be doing a fundraiser. That's right. And that's coming up
September 25th, I think it is. Yes.
So that's coming up as well. So those are all ways to have the money actually going to that resource. And so there's also some great ways that you can have fun, but also support at the same time.
And ask around, you know, maybe you even ask your church, you know, your school, you know, so many people have been impacted by the fire and now the subsequent floods that, you know, almost everyone has been touched in some way or the other. So it doesn't hurt, you know, if you really are in the giving mood and you've got the ability to do something, you know, and you want to do that, take the time to find the right channels, you know, to make sure that it doesn't get misdirected, you know, and go into some misguided, because sadly there are some scammers out there. There are people that are always trying to make, you know, a nickel or a dime or a dollar, shall we say, on other people's, you know, tragedies. And so let's try to avoid that. But I know that the other thing that I wanted to talk about, which a lot of people have been asking more and more questions about, is Jocelyn in the Wild, which, I mean, if you haven't been listening, if you haven't been listening to the podcast, you're probably wondering, Jocelyn in the wild, is she going on safari?
Yeah, I'm like a little angry badger.
But we just had a really great planning session. So do you want to give folks kind of an idea of what to expect? And of course, the whole reason that we're doing Jocelyn in the Wild is because from the very, very beginning, even before we started the podcast, I remember asking you personally, what's your favorite time of year? Oh. And it was, I just can't wait to get out on the farms. So I'm going to let you explain what Jocelyn in the Wild is and what we've got planned for the next few months.
Yeah, no, it's my favorite place, really. Like, I actually showed up at one of the farms at 7 a.m. the other day because they used to open at 7 and now they're not. So I was too early.
Which means what time do they open?
8 o'clock.
Oh, so you were, well, it's beautiful out there.
It was fine. I took a little cruise. But no, it's my favorite time of year. And it's not only because I love fall. So I'm very Gilmore girl. I'm like, I love the fall, but I also just love like the crispness and seeing all the fresh vegetables and all the fresh fruit and just knowing like there's tangible people that we can get to know that actually grow these things. And like I said, I lived in the big city for like 10 years. I moved back home and was like, oh, Pueblo's the same. It hasn't changed at all. And I really fell in love with the farms as like I was older and lived here and realized, oh my gosh, we have all this great agriculture. But what I realized is a lot of people weren't utilizing it the way I thought a farm town would utilize their produce. Yes. And so I was like, a big thing, like, what's the disconnect? Like, how do we get the people to the food and the food to the people was always like a big thing for me. And I live on the west side. And so there's really not any fresh food like that. And so I just knew that there was a big disconnect. And so I thought to myself, how do we bring awareness to this, right? Like, how do we bring awareness to supporting local farmers, and supporting the agriculture? And so that's why like shopping local and really getting the community to understand that there's so many benefits to it, right? That it's like, it boosts your mental health. It boosts your physical health. There's benefits. It's tangible. You're actually supporting the community in which you live in. And there's all these great things about it. You're lessening pollution. There's like all these reasons why we should care a lot about agriculture. And so I thought like, Jocelyn in the Wild, like, where is your favorite place to be? Like, it's not camping in the wild. I like to be at a farm stand in the wild.
Exactly. And for me, it was, I was shocked. I've only lived in Pueblo 15 years, but I remember when I first got here, and then I basically stumbled upon, the Pueblo chili seems to be the one product that gets just so much promotion, and it's front and center with everything, and for good reason. Yeah. But when I started to just go, like once I got out to Blend and I get past Blend and I'm out in the lanes, and all of a sudden it's like one farm after another farm after, and there's over 830 family farms in Pueblo County as a number, which blew my mind. And so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, where is all this food going? And then I realized historically, much of it is going straight up the Front Range and bypassing Pueblo. So it really has been, and a lot of the credit, I would have to say, most of the credit goes to, and you're on the board of directors, is the Pueblo Food Project. And what they've been able to do just over the last, 4 to 5 years, it's been extraordinary. They're now like education. It's awareness and education, because not everything comes from aisle number 9 in the store. I keep telling the kids, do you know where this stuff comes from? And most of the time they have no clue. Right. And it's like, but it's just right up the street. Exactly. From us, right? We're lucky that we even have it, but let's get out there, And so that's like what I thought would be great. I had this idea a couple years ago. I was doing a tour with Bill Berger of his chilies, and I had taken a picture.
and I was literally in the middle of all these chili plants. And I was like, wouldn't it be so great, like, to do some sort of like podcast or something? And people have asked me before, like, Jocelyn, do you ever like do cooking classes, or do you teach people how to cook, or do you do this? And I'm like, oh, like, I help out with some cooking classes with the Pueblo Food Project and do different things. But I was like, this would be such a great way of just taking people to the farm and being like, this is what's available. This is what you could do with it. This is what it tastes like. You know, this is how much it costs. Like, you could cook a whole meal for, you know, under $20.
Right.
And just show people what to do with the abundance that we do have, because we do have a huge variety of foods that get grown here.
Exactly. And that's what's so special about this is not only is there a disconnect, and I'm happy that our community is now talking about this more regularly, and especially with our younger audiences, you know, just getting them to get their hands in the dirt, you know, just getting, you know, to understand the farms, the soil. So not only are these farms multi-generational, they've been out there for over, you know, hundreds of years. They've been out there. And at the same time, you know, we've had major industrialization and major industry. So we're really fortunate that our town has been able to maintain both of those. Yeah. But I do love how awareness, especially over the last 5 years, it has changed dramatically. And I'm even seeing with some of our larger retailers that they actually have some of our local growers in the stores, which we need to see more of that, because they shouldn't be trucking in all this stuff when we know it's growing right here in our own backyard.
And that's the other thing too, I think, is education and understanding. Like, people just think because it's grown out there, it should just be in the stores. People don't realize how much like federal and state regulations there are on these farmers, and how much pressure that could put on a small farm to have it in the store. And that's why they have their own farm stands at their locations, right? I mean, that's how it was back in the day. And it's like,
that's what you originally did.
Don't
you would
change something that works, you know, but at the same time, like, there's constantly so much more pressure on these farmers every year, dealing with drought, dealing with flooding, dealing with this, that they're like, this is the capacity in which we can do. So we need to get people out there and also understand that that's how we make sure that this kind of thing is sustainable, is by taking people out there, showing them what they could do with this food, because maybe they're like, I never knew what to do with the spaghetti squash. What do you mean? You know, and then you can show them what you can do with it. Or, oh, I thought pumpkins were only for decoration. And it's like, well, back in the day, it was a vessel.
That's right.
And that's how you cooked your stew. It was actually savory. You know, the pie came later. And so there's all these different things. But I think by going out in the wild, having people there with me where they can ask questions live of like, well, what is this? Or like, what would you do with this? And just showing them what you can do with it and the abundance that they have. And not only that, but showing people that it can save you money. But also you can use your SNAP. You can use your EBTs.
And that's an important thing.
You can get your double up bucks. You can do all of this stuff. And you're also still supporting that local family that's working their ass off to make sure that there's food within their community.
And so I think the Jocelyn in the Wild is such a great title, not only for this limited series, which will be one to honor your love and your passion for being out in the farms during the season, but it's also just, it's a celebration. It's a reinforcement that our community, Pueblo, that we actually have these farms, and we have so many. So I guess in this first season, this will be the first year that we're going to do this, and it's not going to be just an audio podcast. So this is going to be actual video. So we're going to be out live in the fields. And so if you're a super fan of Soul Fresh, Soul Clean, and you love Jocelyn and everything that she's been doing for the community, you can come out. We're going to announce in advance the locations, because we have chosen a few, and in the next week or so we'll probably be able to announce the entire schedule so that you'll know which Saturday, because we're looking at Saturdays during the season, mostly September and October, because everything pretty much, when the witches come around and the goblins come around October 31st, the season kind of just, the doors are shut. So, but what'll be fun is it'll be family friendly. It'll give you an opportunity to come out to the farms, learn about the farm itself from the actual owners of the farm.
Yes.
And we've got many generations, which is going to be exciting. So there'll be things for the kids, there'll be things for the adults, but it'll be an opportunity too for you to be able to buy and to learn and to experience that. And so the other beautiful part about this is, which is what's really exciting, and one of the reasons why we started the podcast, is we're in development of your very first cookbook.
Yes.
And so we've always said from day one that, we're going to have this cookbook that is going to celebrate the seasons. It's going to celebrate Pueblo. It's going to celebrate all the farms and everything. So the cookbook is going to be more than just a bunch of recipes. It's really going to be a celebration of what Pueblo has to offer when you start talking about just food, when you talk about the seasons. So I love the fact that, this first round, we're going to hit several different farms, and it's not just what's grown in the ground. Some of these farms have bakeries that just have amazing things. And I'm telling you, when people realize what this farm has in terms of baked goods, they're going to make the 15-minute drive out to that farm to get things. Plus, it's such a great way, especially to get ready for the holidays.
Yes.
So Jocelyn in the Wild is pretty much going to be during the harvest season, which will be September and October. What comes after that is going to be Thanksgiving, and it's going to be Christmas. So these farm stands, they've got so much, especially for the holidays. So not only are we going to be building this special section for the cookbook, which is going to be for anyone, whether you're from Pueblo or not, you're going to want to know, well, where did Jocelyn get all of these?
Right.
Where does she source everything? So for us, it really is a celebration of all that these farms have to offer, but we also want it to be experiential.
Exactly.
So people are going to live and breathe. But that gets to my next point, because we just talked about it just briefly, is cooking demonstrations.
Yes.
So you can't have a cookbook until you know these recipes work. So we're going to actually be hosting these interactive, experiential, cooking, experiences. So stay tuned for that too. But this is where everything is leading. And then you might want to share with them, because so much is happening this fall, and because we're really digging even deeper than we originally had planned. Now we've got more time to do an even deeper dive into this first edition of your cookbook. And maybe you want to tell them what our plan is now, so that we don't have to compete for the holidays.
Well, it just makes sense. It makes sense for us to push out the cookbook, since we're doing all these other things. But then also, as I've been doing retreats and being in other states, there's different things that will also go into those cookbooks,
right?
That show local from different places as well. And so you can buy this book, and it's not just, she's in Pueblo, I can't get this stuff there. Right. I want to make sure that people understand that there's farms all over the United States. Right. And I have been blessed that I've went to states, like when I went to upstate New York, I never knew that they had farms like we have here. And I was in awe of it. And then
I live there. They're amazing in upstate New York.
I could not believe it. I was like, those Amish up there are doing some stuff. But, so I have some recipes from that may go in there.
Right.
Doing research on Montana, I realized there's actually about the same farm season.
Right,
they have
right.
some of the same stuff. So it's if you get my cookbook and you live in a different state, we want you to know that you could get all these, most of these things there as well, or at least get on your own farm market journey.
And we say farm, but we're talking ranches, dairies.
Yes.
We have all of that here.
Honey farms.
Yeah, exactly. We were just talking about honey farms. Exactly.
There's so many different things, there's flower farms. There's all these
because
different
it's
things.
more than just what you eat, but the way that you present.
Yes.
And seasonally, that's why, there's amazing farms, for flowers and for just about everything else. So I think the one thing that really is exciting is, as we've started this podcast, we've also been listening. as hopefully our listeners are listening to us, we've been listening to what people are saying about the podcast. And a lot of them are really excited and we've kind of felt this from the very beginning. I know you did because it's been your dream and your vision, but that this cookbook is more than just a cookbook. Yeah. It's more than recipes. It really is a celebration, and it is a resource. It's a resource for how you can actually, find and learn about all these things, which sadly in our lazy lives, we end up just going to the grocery store and the market, and that's fine. And again, we haven't even talked about the specialty stores in Pueblo, like Gagliano's, Gags and Vince with the sausage and all. I mean, there's so many, and so many of those stores, they're over 100 years old, that go back multi-generational. So I think, again, the book is really a celebration of what this land, this area has given to those who have decided to live here or visit here or, just pass through.
Oh, yeah. And I think I just want it to kind of stir up something ancestral within all of us to say, like, it isn't farm to table. It's not like, bougie cooking. It's like going back to like the basics and the fundamentals of cooking with the things that are grown in your area that come from the ground. And then you don't have to worry about, this parasite or this or this bacteria if you know where your food is coming from. And
that's
so
exactly
it's like,
right. Yeah.
And like just making people excited about cooking is what I want the cookbook to do as well.
And I remember when I was a kid visiting my grandmother, there would always be on the back of the top burner of the stove, like 2 loaves of bread just sitting there that she had baked earlier in the day. I mean, she made her own mayonnaise, just basic things that I just remember, now you just buy them in a jar or you buy, and all of a sudden it's like, why, and I kind of get why we've moved away from a lot of that, but it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot to go back. Yeah. Well, we're lucky because we have the resources.
Right.
We have the farms.
Yeah, it's like just going back to like the basics of like cooking at home. And I think we think it's hard, right? We've been conditioned over the last 10, 20 years that like cooking is hard and you should just be able to go into the freezer aisle and get your TV dinner and that kind of thing. And it's like, I think more people are wanting to go back to cooking their own food, knowing where their food's going. And like what Jocelyn in the Wild or the cookbook, like one of my favorite things is just building those relationships and having those conversations with the people that are growing your food. And then you go home and you tangibly get into it. And don't get me wrong, like you're going to mess up a million recipes, right? Like I have tried recipes and messed them up and been like, I'm never going to cook that again. Right. For a long time, I used to say that I'm not a baker. For a long time, I was like, I'm not a baker. And then when I'm at retreat or a lot of the things I do, I bake all my own stuff. Right. And then I was like, oh, wait.
I'm a baker.
I am. And I had to have someone tell me, like, Jocelyn, that was an old mindset that you had. Right. And now you've like worked through that. And then now you've overcome that. And so I think we have to break through that mindset of cooking is too hard. Right. I can't do it. Right. And hopefully this cookbook has complex recipes, has easy recipes, and says to people, wait, I can do this.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect, what you just explained really explains whether you've just arrived, I always call it the shores of Pueblo. If you've just arrived at the shores of Pueblo or whether you've been here for many generations, this is kind of a can-do, DIY, roll up your sleeves community. And we're kind of makers, In Pueblo, the first question anyone asks is, what high school did you graduate from? Right. I wish the second question would be, what do you make? Mm-hmm. Because like you said, if you don't consider yourself a baker, but you can. And I think what's beautiful is in order to be able to make something or to do something, you have to have all the resources. Yes. So whether you're building something out of wood, whether you're making a meal, whether you're at the steel mill and you're running rail, we that's this town. We're a tinker town.
We are.
And if you don't know, you've got a cousin, whether it's your Pueblo cousin or your real cousin, you've got that 1 degree of separation.
Right.
So I think that's just a beautiful reinforcement of, it's just kind of a manual, can do. It's a can-do manual. So I'm hoping that through this blending of Jocelyn in the Wild, which will be very experiential for those that have been out before or those that have never been out there before, I hope that people will kind of just feel more comfortable being at a farm, because it's not like pulling up to the grocery store parking lot with your shopping cart and going aisle by aisle.
They do have shopping carts.
I know they do. I've seen them. That's a good sign.
You might get a cranky wheel, but they do have them.
It's a lot easier than trying to carry it all.
But yeah, I want people to come out, ask me questions. Let's have fun. Let's talk through things. Hopefully they'll see a new recipe or get a new idea. And that's the same thing with the cookbook, is showing different variations.
Right.
You can switch it up. This is your world, your life. And just let people have fun with cooking and shopping again, I think is the big thing.
And I think what we've planned really is kind of incrementally, for those that want to dive in and they know they're ready for it and they know who you are and they just love you and what you're doing. But for those that have no clue but are willing and able and anxious, what we're going to be doing with Jocelyn in the Wild is going to get you out. It's like field study. We're going to be out there learning and experimenting. And because it's going to be video, it's also going to be very educational. So you'll actually be able to see and learn. So even if you can't be out there live with us, you'll be able to, like listening to this podcast, you'll be able to follow this as it comes online. But then we're going to be providing all the other tools. So it's not just, once you get used to the farms, then we're going to make you get used to the cooking and the demonstrations, because we want you to have fun with the cookbook. Then in that last phase, then we're going to have the cookbook, which will be ready. So, and that'll be ready next spring. So we're looking at April, which I think is a great time.
Me too.
A lot has come onto the schedule that was not originally planned. So I think what'll be beautiful though too is the cookbook will now be able to have dedicated sections that will actually, for those that are in Pueblo, it'll actually have the resources. But as you said, every community is going to have their own resources. And the fact that they'll be able to interchange those is what we really want to make sure, because, food is universal.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter. You might have to convert from metric system, to our crazy system. But in any case, after a while, it's trial and error, and we're high altitude. So things work a little bit differently high altitude than they do down at sea level.
Yes, they do. Believe me, I have ruined many a cakes. That happens.
But I'm really excited, and I know we're just about at our time. Where did the time go? That was 45 minutes. It's amazing. But I'm really excited because what'll be coming up, very, very soon will be out in the wild. And so stay tuned. There'll be a lot happening before we actually hit the fields, because we're going to be sharing more information about what to expect and the schedule itself.
Yes.
So just when you think Farmers Market is coming to an end, we're going to be filling in with some experiential, and they're going to be on Saturdays. So that means you can bring the kids, and it'll be every kids. Yes, I think the kids,
important,
right? And they
ask the best questions.
They do, and I should announce that the Pueblo Star Journal just recently got a wonderful grant from the University of California, Berkeley, the Greater Good Science Center, and our Mojo, which is our mobile journalism program. We're actually going to be training youth. So we have some programs in both D2 in Colorado Springs and in D60 in Pueblo. We're going to be teaching kids how to tell their own stories. So they're going to be producing 2 to 5 minute news broadcast segments, which are going to be distributed throughout Southern Colorado. So we're going to have some of these younger folks out and about, these roving reporters reporting Jocelyn in the Wild. So you might hear this little 12-year-old with some serious questions about what's life like out in the fields.
I cannot tell them exactly what it's like on the fields, but I could tell them how it is once it is on the stands.
There you go. But I think it's a great opportunity for kids to be telling their own stories instead of the stories of others. So Jocelyn, as we close, is there anything else you want to say to our listeners before we wrap up this episode of Soul Fresh, Soul Clean?
I just always want to thank all of our listeners for your support. And I just want to thank my clients and everyone who I work with for supporting me in these ventures and the Pueblo Star Journal. These are things, they wouldn't come to fruition without any of you. Yeah, right. But I also just really want you guys to go out there, go out to the farms, try a new vegetable, talk to the farmers, have a good time, and come out and see us. And bring your questions, because that's what we're going to be out there for. That's great. And at the end of the day, it's all about community. And I think that's what we've really tried to do. And if you ever, Jocelyn has religiously, I can't count how many, but for many years has been providing our recipe as part of our wellness section of the newspaper. So if you ever decide to prepare one of those dishes, take some photographs of it and then send us your feedback. We're going to be announcing some prizes. That's a future thing. I didn't even tell you that, Jocelyn, but our board actually said, why don't we offer some prizes for people that make the dishes? Oh, I love that. And we'll just get some additional feedback, because it's one thing to share the recipes. We want to know how well they're working out in your home. And so it's just fun to share what works and what doesn't work. And if there's a story to go with it, all the more. So we'll be giving more information in the September issue. So with that, final farewell. I just thank you all, and just have an amazing rest of your month, because school is upon us, and just don't be too hard on yourself, and have a great time. And we will be in touch very soon. So stay tuned. This is a special edition of Voices of Pueblo podcast, Soul Fresh, Soul Clean, with Jocelyn Martinez. I'm Gregory Howell, and thank you for listening.
You've been listening to Soul Fresh, Soul Clean. This is a production of the Voices of Pueblo podcast, presented by the Pueblo Star Journal. This episode was produced and narrated by Jocelyn Martinez and Gregory Howell. To learn more and to support nonprofit local news in Pueblo, Colorado, visit pueblostarjournal.org. If you would like to share your food story, reach out to Jocelyn at jocelyn@pueblostarjournal.org. We want to hear from you. Thank you for listening.
Homeownership is possible with a trusted partner.
It brings us a lot of joy to be able to say that this house is our own, and that we've poured our hearts into making it our own.
Alyssa and Ryan are among the more than 155,000 people Chaffa has helped become homeowners since 1974. It starts with homebuyer education and connecting you with a statewide network of participating lenders. Get started at chfainfo.com/yourhome. Chaffa is an equal housing lender.